So I think like most people, April was just kind of a blur. It's kind of crazy what's going on, and I wasn't really feeling like coming down the basement and doing stuff. Days just bled into another, and before you knew it, April was over. But I'm back now. I spent yesterday tidying up a bit. It may not look like it over here if you can see that, but this is a much better work environment. It's much cleaner. So I'm going to do the thing that I said I was going to do in April, which is teach y'all how to make this. Now, I call this a Holden because you wear it on your thumb and it holds your book open. It's holding it open. Lame. But yeah, this is what we'll be making. Hope you enjoy it. My very first one of these I made was for my friend Daniel, and I think he saw it on Pinterest or something and just asked if I can make it. I'm like, I don't know, let's try. I had zero power tools, so I did this entire thing by hand. It was a different form factor as well. It was much bulkier, but I did it all by hand. I hammered an awl through this just to make the hole, and then I had a file that I used to make the hole bigger. It took days. It was crazy. And I didn't have a coping saw to do these, so I was just using a regular saw to make relief cuts and then a chisel to just shave it down, and then pretty much sanded everything by hand to create the contours and the shape the way I wanted them. It took forever. It was insane. But I'm glad I did it, because now I know. Now I'm using hole saw. I don't have a drill press yet, but I have a hole saw kit, so I can make the holes this way much quicker. And but I'm glad I did it by hand, because I know now how much the power tools are saving me in time and energy. So today we're going to be using a little bit of both. Like I said, I'm going to use hole saw to create the hole. But I'm going to use my coping saw to do the curves, and yeah, I'm still going to hand sand, and we'll see how this goes. So the tools, like I said, that I'm going to be using is a hole saw, bit, and my drill, coping saw. I've got my awesome Pika pencil. These things are genius, by the way. I love them. A simple ruler. And a piece of wood. I'm using this nice piece of walnut. I believe it's 3/4. Yeah, it's about just over 3/4. This is nice and planed and looking pretty and smelling really good. So let's get into this. Okay, so first thing I did was draw this out. As you can see, I just freehanded it. I first took this 7/8 hole saw bit, which fits kind of nice on my thumb. I'm still going to sand it a bit, so the hole's a bit bigger, but I just put it down here and I traced around it with the Pika, and then I just freehanded the rest of this. I'm not good at drawing, but this just gives me a general idea for the coping saw, where to go. So first things first, I'm going to clamp this down and drill at the hole, because this is way easier to do before you cut everything. So first things first. Just in case. Oh. It got zoomed in. Okay. I already drilled the first hole, and then I noticed that the camera was set to 6x zoom. So sorry you missed that, but all I did was drill about halfway through the first the one side. I'm gonna flip it over and finish the rest. Just helps reduce tear out. I'm gonna be sanding it all, but this just makes it a little easier later on. Ta-da! And there we have the outline of the very first Holden. Ta-da! Alright, since I messed up the first one with the camera setting, I'm gonna make a second one. Because I want to make another one for myself as well. Maybe I'll give this one away. But I really like the look of this walnut, so I'm going to make myself one as well. So I'm going to drill a second hole. And then we've got 2 Holdens drilled. Up next, we got the coping saw to make these angles. So the next step is going to be using this. This is my coping saw. It's got a really thin blade. Hopefully it's still pretty sharp. I've had this one in a while. We'll see how this goes. But this lets you kind of bend and curve the cut as you go, which you'll see here in a second. So let's do. So I'm going to use my trusty Dozuki. These are the best saws you'll ever see in your life. And there's the first one. It doesn't look very good, but it will. Trust me. I'm gonna cut out the second one now. Why might not show that? I'm gonna try to make it better than this. See, we've got like, yeah, we'll fix all this. Anyways, I don't recall if I said that was it for the power tools. That can be it, and you can just use sandpaper now, or if you've got a file or a rasp to just kind of level these out. You can see how they're not great, but that's okay. At this stage, it doesn't matter. We're starting to see the actual shape, which is cool. So you can just use sandpaper. It'll take a long time. And that is how I did these originally. But you are definitely done with your saws, your coping and Dozuki, or you could use a jigsaw instead of this if you want. You can use a jigsaw instead of this, or any other kind of saw. It doesn't matter. Use whatever you have available to you. I'm not going to use sandpaper for this because it'll take a long time. Not yet. I will sand these down, but to get the basic form, and because this one's so janky, I'm going to use my Dremel. So, I'd just like to point out, no saw or Dremel or any other tool, Pika. I'm not sponsored by any of these. I just love them. This is what I keep my Dremel bits in. This is my wife's, who doesn't love a good steak. So, I've got these Dremel bits. They're just sanding drums. This one's old, obviously, so I'm going to replace it with a newer one. Here we go. So I'll replace it with one like this. And this helps us get the contours. If you have a belt sand, or yeah, well, a belt sander would work on the edge. Spindle sander. Beautiful. If you just have your hands, that's awesome too. Again, use what you have available to you. Okay, yeah, good to go. So, I'm gonna put my mask on, and you can watch me sand. Yay. Always wear your mask and your glasses. Someday I'll tell you about how I cut my eyeball because of sawdust. Not today. So other than that, this guy's ready for some hand sanding. So I'll do the other one off camera because it's really janky and it'll take a while. And then I'll come back with hand sanding. Yay. All right, so that's part one of this tutorial. So we've drilled the hole, we've cut out the basic shape, we've used the Dremel. You can also hand sand to just kind of rough out the final shape. Part two, it's gonna be kind of some monotonous stuff, hand sanding, and then finishing, and I'll also show you how I burn my logo on there. So part two coming tomorrow, maybe soon. All right.